And the other one is, I don't know if you got the email from, sorry, on Discord. Andy put in a link for the new update, but it's coming out on the 28th, I think, of January. It's got some really
It
nice
says
stuff
that
in it.
it actually says the 22nd.
22nd. Okay, my mistake.
And I have it I have it up on my screen. So when we're ready,
Okay,
yeah, there are a couple very interesting things in there.
We're
nice.
alive.
Yeah, yes, and yes, we're live, but that's okay. We're just talking in the background. Yes, I agree. And I have a really exciting Ecamm update to share. It's Zoom. I mean, it's Zoom. It's not Ecamm, but it's related to Ecamm, which I'm very excited about.
Cool. Lots of
Finally
things.
getting our integration. All right.
So, David, are you going to welcome us?
I was just going to say it's 3 o'clock. Hello, everybody. Wait a second. How do I switch this? There we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the kitchen. Welcome to the Zoom test kitchen. Good to see all of you. Let's make the rounds. Robert, how are you, my friend?
Cold. It's been well below
Cold?
zero for the last couple of 2 to 3 weeks here in Poland. So
Really?
cold. Yeah.
Really? How long
Yeah.
is your winter there? Do you have a long winter or
I'll put it this way: the heating season is 7 months.
the heating season? Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But having a winter with no snow is like paying taxes and not having any income. So I prefer the snowy winters.
Okay. All right. Having lived in the Northeast for most of my life, I'm not sure I missed the snow. I'm not sure. I mean, it's fun to play in, but then again, Mr. Franklin, how you doing?
I'm well. I know that you don't introduce yourself, so perhaps you can do that before we start the rest of the
Oh, I
introduction.
should change my name, actually. I'm
Well,
David.
Hi, David.
Hi, David. I should change my name here. I'm in a happy Zoom mood. I've had some good Zoom experiences the past few days, so I'm in a happy Zoom mood. Yeah. Ray, good to see you, my friend. You're
Nope.
feeling well?
It's all good. It's all good. Survived CES, 10 hours a day on Ivy for 4 days. Got over 500 leads, and we're busy following up. It's pretty exciting.
I saw there was something on I can't remember what channel it was. I was doom scrolling in YouTube, and I came across an interview with John Idelson
Idelson, yeah.
and the Ivy. Yeah.
I put that up by mistake, and I was slapped because Jeff makes his money by posting things, and I shouldn't have done that without his permission. Although he clearly, did it. But Guy Cochran sent me a note right away. Ooh, I don't think that's. No, Jeff sent me a note. Anyway, I
In
pulled
any
it down.
case, good.
But
Hopefully
what you
he'll put it.
don't know- yeah,
Hopefully
I
he'll
hope-
put it back up because it was a great interview. Go ahead.
What I can tell you is that I was interviewed for television during CES as a featured piece in Al Jazeera TV.
Oh
Guy showed
my
up-
goodness,
showed
that's
up with his-
amazing.
Yeah, showed up with his thing. Said, "All right, give me a minute." Having
Wow.
been in that business, I knew how to do it. However, I can't find it. So if any of you subscribe to Al Jazeera TV, not in English. I'm sure.
Oh, it's not. I was just going to search. It's not in
Yeah,
English. That's
no.
fantastic. Wow. Wonderful. Mike, how you doing?
Sir David,
What's going on with you,
welcome,
my
sir.
friend?
Doing good.
Yeah?
Keeping busy and getting ready for NAM next week. The NAM show next
Oh
week.
my god, these shows never stop.
Welcome
there's a
to
show-
trade show
Yeah.
season.
Oh, this is the season. Yeah.
Yes. 'Tis the season to be jolly, and it's officially when nobody buys equipment. It's officially January and February. So this is why you see CES.
Well, no one buys
NAM.
no one buys equipment unless you're ordering the Vision Pro. It's available now, right? Here we go.
I
I'm
forgot.
ready. I'm ready to
Oh.
order it. What? Oh my goodness! It's this whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not ordering it.
Lots of negativity I heard about that this morning.
Really?
hmm Yes, sir.
That's interesting. All right. Well, in any case, that's neither here nor there. Good to see you. Joe, Mr. Phillips.
Good afternoon, evening, or wherever you might be, and glad to be here.
You got your
Glad to be
fire
along for the
raging
ride.
behind you.
Yes, we're staying warm. It's okay here, but
Where are you located, Joe?
Western North Carolina, extreme
that's-
Western North Carolina in the States.
That's chilly. No?
It's it
not
got down
snowy.
to about 9 the other morning.
Yeah.
We're going to probably get down to about 5 this weekend.
Goodness.
Much better place than some other folks. So I'm pleased to be here. But
Robert.
we all can't be like Ray.
Fair enough. Tommy, how are you, sir?
Hello, just fine, thanks. Yourself?
Good. Now you look like you're freezing.
I'm not freezing. I'm just came in from the outside, and although the temperature in this studio here is about 10 degrees less than what the sanctuary is out there, so I just hit the thermometer up against the wall, and it was like 57 degrees.
Oh my goodness. And where are you located, Tommy?
Minnesota.
Oh yeah, that's cold.
Up in St. Paul, and we're supposed to get down to -5 tonight, so it's a little cooler, but at least we have a little white to go with it. And when it's that cold, usually the sun is shining, so that helps a little bit.
Well, there you go. See, there's always a bright side. Always a bright side. And Hasmuk is here, but we've only got his monitors up. Hasmuk, are you? We hear you have some exciting things to share with us. We'll let you get settled. And oh my goodness, we see part of you. Hi, Hasmuk. Good to see you. All right, we're gonna let you get yourself settled up. Let's start by
Gerald is here as well. You missed him out.
Where? Who? What? Oh, he doesn't have his
Hello,
camera
this is
on.
Gerald Hammond. I'm in my off the couch chair today, so not camera ready, but audio ready, and happy to be with all of you again, and wish you all a happy new year, and keep enjoying the conversations.
Off the couch chair. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's a big overstuffed comfy chair.
It doesn't get any better than that. Does not get any better. Now that you have the Zoom app for iOS, if you've got your Apple TV, you can zoom right in with that Zoom app. Yeah. Hey, Lois. Good
Happy
afternoon.
birthday
Good
to
morning.
you. Happy birthday, Lois.
Excuse me?
Thank you. Thank you.
What's happening?
Yesterday was my birthday, and I had my birthday cake today. It was a lovely piece of carrot cake, and my husband made me my favorite lunch, which is silly fish, which is wonderful stuff. And I'm so excited. I'm 74 years old. Wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be excited about that, am I?
Silly fish? You lost me at silly fish.
It's not a Zoom thing. You want me to tell you about it anyway?
I think I need to know about it.
Okay. It's creamed fillet of sole with mushrooms. And it's actually, we don't use sole, we use tilapia. But the reason it's named silly fish is that at the time that we started making this, back in the 80s, and we had a cat named Silly. And she was a Russian princess. She was wonderful. Tsili. So Jim would come home from where he worked, and he went by Spinger's, which is a lovely fish market down in the Bay Area. And he brought home the fish, and he came into the kitchen and was working on, unloading dishes. And the Silly came running in going, I smell something good. Can I have some of that? Well, silly man that he is, he gave her a little taste. Well, then he went and he cooked dinner for us. And he added the mushrooms and the cream sauce. And when we had dinner, Silly came around and went, I had to have it raw. And she loved. So from then on, if he ever came home with fish again, she'd run into the kitchen, bump onto his ankles, go purr and leave, but not ask for food until it was cooked. So in honor of Silly, we named this dish Silly Fish.
You know what? That was worth it.
That was silly.
That was worth the trip. That was worth the trip.
Good. Yeah.
Hasmuk, I know that it's very late where you are, and I know that you have some exciting experiences to share with us. First of all, it's so good to see you.
You can hear me okay?
We can indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got this on. No, I had a discussion with Robert earlier today. We were just exchanging some ideas. And I've got my medical event coming up next week. So there are about 60 people. So I go through an orientation meeting with them, mainly looking good, sounding good. And so I did it in batches of 6 different schedules. And before I used Doodle to try and figure out when it would work for most of these folks. And then I was intrigued by your comment on scheduler some 3-4 weeks back in Zoom Test Kitchen. And so I asked around, and anyway, I dived into it. So the only very interesting surprise was you first of all schedule it, and it gives you the option of scheduling a once-off meeting or one too many. And it gives you all the options of choosing the day, time, narrow the window to X number of days, and so on and so on. Once you've scheduled it, it generates a link. And what I did is I shared the link with all the attendees and asked them to schedule or book their slot. So I gave them 4 or 5 days options, and they had to book it. You also have an option in the setup to either SMS you or send you an email notification when somebody has booked it. And the attendee, when booking, can also include the phone number so that they can get an SMS. And then it also sends a email and SMS ahead of the scheduled date or time. But what was very pleasantly surprised was when I started the meeting for every session, all those that had booked for the session, they appeared in the participants list in Zoom itself. So
Before
Zoom
they
had
were
a
in the
list
meeting?
before they were in the meeting. So I did not have to record who actually booked for which session. Zoom itself, in fact, when you go to the schedule itself, it lists the folks, but it lists the email addresses, not the names. But in the Zoom client itself, it lists the names of all the individuals that have booked. So I didn't have to have a separate checklist as to who booked and who was in the meeting. So that was the upside of using the scheduler. It was a great surprise and a great pleasant workaround for me. So that's the experience.
That's fantastic. So the if you're watching and you don't know what Hasmukh was talking about, this is the scheduler here. It's a new feature from Zoom. If you are on a business plan, maybe even education, I'm not sure, then it's included. If not, you can buy into it. And as he was saying, you can create a schedule, do a one-off meeting, availability poll, and all those. Here are the notification settings that he was talking about. All of these different ways that people can be notified. A booking confirmation SMS, cancellation SMS, after the event, thank you email, SMS. Really the only thing that's really keeping me from just diving into this and using this is that for some of my events that I schedule, I accept payments. And so, and that doesn't exist over here. That exists in Calendly. Robert, go ahead. Sorry.
Hasmukh, that's fascinating. I've been thinking about it, what you said all day, but tell me something. How do you differentiate who has arrived, or how does Zoom differentiate who's scheduled to arrive in the meeting and who's already in the meeting from the list? I can't hear you, Hasmukh.
In the participants list, when those who have booked and they join the meeting, I had them in a waiting room. So then as soon as I bring them into the meeting, their name appears in the participants that have joined the meeting, and that same name comes off the list of those who had booked. So if 12 people had booked and 5 people joined, then those who have not joined yet will now go down to 7. So you know more or less for whom you are waiting.
That sounds like an ideal situation for someone who has classes or has a group of people. That's so cool because you know who's missing effectively. Yeah.
Built-in attendance. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Really nice. Lois, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. So if you are doing this, Hasmukh, and you've got all these pre-registrations, what if the day of you decide, oh, well, I'd like Joe Schmo to send them the link to the Zoom meeting and they try to come in. Would they be allowed to come in if they haven't gone through this scheduler?
If I send them the meeting link directly, of course they can join the meeting. So they don't have to pre-book to join the meeting. So yeah, the only nice thing is that the fact that also when they book, the system sends them a confirmation of their schedule plus the link to the meeting. So I don't have to send them a separate link to the meeting. The system sends it up. There's only one downside compared to what I did with Doodle, because when I give, let's say, four different schedule slots, generally I would say, look, try and pick the one that has the most attendees, so we can narrow down the number of days. This doesn't have that option. So if you schedule 4 slots, they will see 4 slots, and they can just pick one. And the potential attendees have no idea how many people have registered or not registered.
Right. But I think
registration is the wrong word. How many
Yeah.
people have booked?
Booked or so. But I think that if you did if you set up a new, hold on, let me, so I want, the interface is a little convoluted here, if you ask me. So if here I am on my schedules, the first thing I would think of to do is click here to add something, right? But then you don't have here the option to the poll option, which it sounds like, which is what you wanted to do, right? The polls over here. Polls, you have to kind of click over here and then, no, and this is where you can say, okay, I'm free, for
Yeah, exactly.
this
I
time,
didn't
this
use
time.
that feature. Yes.
Right. Sorry, that was
Correct.
after the fact, so it's not working. This time, this time, this time. These are the 4 times that I'm available. Then when you send this to people, let me back up here. What else? So this is a ZTK test, and I can send it to, oh, okay, that's that. Additional options. No, okay. And then what do I do? Then availability poll. So now it should just give me, did it do it? No, what did I do?
No.
Let me back up here. Create poll. Okay. So these are the times that I have available, and we're going to call this a Zoom Test Kitchen poll. 30 minutes. Host is me, right? Okay. Oh, there's a next button down here. Sorry. That's kind of hidden, especially with the help button there. Okay, so then I get, here's the poll, selected times, poll visibility, allow poll participants to see each other's names and votes. So if I turn that on, and then when I hit publish, it'll give me a link, which I can then copy and put in the chat. And now when you all respond to that, you will be able to see each other's, and the way this is different than I think the way you did is that this doesn't actually book anything. This just gathers data for me, and then I get to choose which of these times is best, right? But this actually wouldn't work for you either, because what you were trying to do was give 4 times, all of which would be available for people. And the point of this is to find one time that's
Correct.
best for everyone.
Correct. So I predetermined the 4 options.
Right.
And they didn't have any choices, so they just picked the slot that worked for them.
Right,
Just by the way, I have a pro account, so I added the additional subscription for scheduler.
Yep.
I think it was just under $6 a month.
Yep. And here's, just so people can see, so this is the poll. So if you were to click on that link, you could see that Robert said yes to that at 12:30. Let me actually, you know what? Let me actually go to the link and let's see
Refresh.
what it shows me. Yeah, I will. Yep, it's the same link. So now we've got 2 votes for that day. So if I click on that, so now this is I guess how I'm going to choose. I click, or maybe I'm voting. Am I voting here? Oh yeah, this is for me to vote. Okay, so let me go back. And sorry, I'm trying to get back. Here we go.
That screen you have up doesn't say anything about what we are supposed to do. It has 0 information about what it's for, what's going up. I got a link. I clicked the link. I went there and it was like, So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that's because I didn't put information in. That's a really good question, though.
There might be a place that just didn't get filled in.
Yeah. So here again, I just want to.
There was a place for the description. You just didn't fill it in.
I didn't fill it in. Here again, like, I don't know, this. So here I go into scheduler, right? So I log into Zoom. I want to see what people have responded. I go to scheduler and it's nowhere to be found. Under all, it's nowhere to be found. It's not under created with me, by me, not shared with me.
But it's a poll, not a schedule.
I understand that, but polls, I don't know. I'm just, if you're going to put polls under scheduler, then when I click all, I should see the poll. Seems to me. In any case, so here are the responses, and you can see that it tells me what's the most popular, who said yes. So now I can go ahead and book this time, and it's going to say, oh, I can add attendees here if I want, and I can book the schedule, which I'm not going to do because I don't want all of you to end up with a. Interesting. So let me go back actually. So Frank voted for a different time. When I booked this time, Frank's email comes up here, so he will get notified. I can't take him out. Not that I wouldn't want to, but yeah.
All democracy.
Yeah.
What happens if you click on the 12:30 instead of book this time? Does it then show you the 2 of us? No.
Nothing happens. It's a pretty blue color, but it is not clickable.
One other thing, David, I went back and clicked on the link.
I see it.
It allowed me to choose more than one time. So you can actually choose 2 or 3 preferable times. However, when I clicked on vote, it said to me, booking error, already shared preferred times with this email. You can't do that again.
Because you had done it right. Right.
And
So the idea.
Look at 12:30, not on the most popular, but come down. And to the right, there's a book this time, isn't there?
Yep.
So that should book just the 2 of us.
No.
What?
It books all three of you. So just so people know, so the idea behind a poll is actually not to choose one time. The whole idea behind these polls is that when I send this out, that you pick every time that's good for you. And then the machine says, okay, out of all the 20, 25, 30 people who've responded, this is the most convenient time for the majority of people. So you're right, Robert, it definitely has to choose more than one. It is strange that you're not able, so you can't go in and do it again. But I wonder if you should be able to edit your choices, no?
No, I didn't get that option.
I wonder if there's an email coming your way,
Oh, let me check.
which would allow you to access and edit your, I don't know. I would like that if there was. In any case.
David, I have a procedural question. If someone is watching us live streaming right now, is there any way that they can participate in this discussion? Can they send us a text or a chat is there something, is someone monitoring what's going on out there?
Mike,
Mike,
how could people participate on YouTube?
Thank you, Lois, for letting everybody know that. That is correct. In the chat, in our infamous YouTube chat, of course, Robert's used this many a times. So Robert can attest to this. Definitely in chat, we would love you to put in your questions. We will relay them to the whole crew that is here, all us wonderful bodies that are waiting. And yes, I got fire going on around me now too, David, just to add that to it. And
I noticed that.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So definitely, the chat is very quiet right now. So please add your questions in chat, and we will definitely relay it to the team if you have any questions, especially with the latest version of Zoom.
Yeah.
And what about if people aren't available at this time, and so they're going to be watching YouTube after we're done?
No soup for you.
Can they give us any feedback, and how?
Yes, they can. Definitely, you can chat on the YouTube channel. You can visit us on Facebook at Zoom Test Kitchen. You can join our Discord. You can email me. You can come to my house. I'll make dinner. Yes. We'd love to, always love new friends and learning from new faces. Absolutely.
And David needs an, wah effect anyways in there.
What do you say?
It's there somewhere. There it is. I knew it was right. It was
This
flying
is a
around
problem,
there.
by the way. This is a problem with the Rodecaster Pro. I'll just say that it's got all these pretty little buttons here, but they're not, unlike the Stream Deck where you can actually put a title or something. You can't on the Rodecaster Pro. So I have 8 colorful buttons here, and I have no idea what any of them do. I have to look up at the little tiny screen. All right, but that's not why we're here.
Sticky notes, David. Sticky notes.
The sticky notes. You're right, actually. Ooh. I have a label maker. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
On this
I'm
point,
off,
there's
guys.
a
Thanks a lot.
somebody
Hasmuk.
watching on YouTube now.
Thank you, Hasmuk.
That has
Name- There's somebody on YouTube now, Andy Carluccio, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Who's
if you
that?
if you use live streaming app by Zoom, then YouTube chats can appear for the host in their app, so they can have an easier time monitoring engagement across the stream. I think
And
that's
we
a
are-
learning for all of us.
Well, we are working. So we actually knew that. Oh, I knew that. We're working on that. So here's the problem. It's not a problem, and it's certainly not Zoom's problem. In order for that to work, the host has to be a co-owner or an owner of the YouTube channel. I am a manager of our
So
Zoom
Jeff
test.
has to answer these.
Exactly. So Jeff, while he's in his helicopter or his office, wherever. No. So we're working on getting that moved over to me. At which point we will be able to do the streaming right through Zoom, not through this
that's
custom
cool.
thing that we're doing. And then yes, we'll be able to see those comments. So that is absolutely in part of Zoom. It's one of the things I find, I see this less with Zoom and more with Ecamm, but I think it's applicable to both, is that there are so many things we want these apps to do, and we think that they have control over the entire ecosystem. And we forget sometimes that when you're streaming, Zoom is only half of the picture. Where the destination is the other half. And so how does YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or Rumble or any of these other things, how do they play with the tools that we have? And Zoom can do as much as it can do, but at the end of the day, if YouTube requires you to be a co-owner, then in order to get all the functionality, you have to be a co-owner. I will say, since Andy's hopefully still listening, that, and I'll share this later, but there was a stream yesterday for Ecamm, which is the tool that I use, about the new Zoom integration that's coming. And they were talking about the Ecamm, the Zoom, is it API? And how robust it is and how amazing it is. And they said one thing that made me so happy, because it doesn't matter. They said, for 10 years, all Zoom has done is perfected how to do multi-person communication and to do it in such a way that it's not too taxing on the system, that it doesn't eat up all your bandwidth and all these other things. They said, Zoom is the best at this. Why should we why should we try and replicate it? Like they do it so well. Let's just build upon that. And I was really glad that at least in this one little part of my world, this app, that there was a recognition that at least in this little piece of the puzzle, they really have perfected it. All right, enough of that. Can we talk about January? Yes, Lois.
Just before we leave that, I think there is one reason to use the system we currently have instead of the Zoom system in our situation, and that is the host of this meeting has to do so darn much that having them also try and keep track of the comments that are coming in, I think that might be a little bit overwhelming. And so I like the present system. I like that Mike is there and reading stuff, and I think it's real good.
You know what's interesting though, Lois? We'll have to see once we get access to this. I wonder if the host, or maybe Andy just wants to answer us, I wonder if the host is the only one who has access to those comments. I mean, certainly you could still see them over on YouTube. So even if we do the new, it's not new, even if we start bringing those comments in, there's no reason why we couldn't still continue to do exactly what we're doing here. But
yeah. I can vouch a little bit for vMix, not Ecamm, but I can vouch for vMix. vMix already has the social media integration in it. So we could easily, once you have access and have the capability of getting the information from YouTube, vMix could do that already, and it's not a Zoom thing. And if you wanted to also integrate the Zoom messages that we currently do in our chat into the feed as well, with vMix, again, with vMix, it'll actually pull that information in equivalent to its already made system that it has for YouTube and Facebook, where it pulls those live comments in.
Yeah. Frank,
that functionality is there. Go ahead, Frank.
Awesome. Frank?
Hi. I think we've discussed this in the past, but maybe Zoom should look forward to a time when there'll be some more roles like social media manager or producer or something like that.
That's a great point. Yeah, Robert.
Yeah, but with vMix, we've been testing it as well, Mike. And one of the things we realized is that you've got so many roles and functions based on one computer.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a whole group of people that are trying to do different things on one computer at the same time. And when I looked at Zoom Sessions is so much cleverer in that way, because it allows you to set up a host, a co-host, a second host, all these additional functions that let you distribute the management of the event. It's
okay. Yeah. The
something
one
that we
quick
don't appreciate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one quick thing that I will say is that with vMix, you could actually have multiple people on multiple PCs, but what they will do is you actually have them remote in, and there is an interface. There's a user interface that you can actually limit certain functionality to do, and you can actually delegate an example of us talking about the social media reactions for comments, that can be done right now. That's been built in there for a while for a few versions. But again, it's additional functionality that you have to learn in vMix. But it's
Actually, it's a really interesting point that Robert just made, though. You know, I as a solo guy doing this, I want everything built into a system that I can use. But when you get bigger, when you start to scale, you're right. It makes a lot more sense to be able to spread those responsibilities out.
Yeah, and that right now is in vMix. It's been there since they started the social stream capabilities in vMix. But again, it's additional learning curve, right? So you need to actually spend the time and actually learn that independent system and how to access it remotely. It's similar to like Stream Deck making HTTP calls to vMix, but I won't get into it too much. But again, there is that capability. It's been there for a bit where you could actually have one person strictly just doing the graphics in vMix and actually queue up all the graphics, not actually take it live to air. You still need that person that's running the main vMix to do it, but you can actually have that person actually get everything prepped ahead of time for you. Or and again, they do that very often, even on the vMix Fun Time show that they do every month.
My point was that I think my point was more on the Zoom side, that Zoom has been very clever in the way that they've built the architecture around Zoom sessions, because they've anticipated that and put it in. That was the point I was trying to make.
No, absolutely. And again, it just depends on your work. You know, if you're going to use vMix, then use vMix. If you're going to use the Zoom sessions, use Zoom sessions fully. Again, hybrid between the two could cause you all kinds of grief, right? So
Frank,
it's best to choose one or the other. Go for it, Frank.
So one thing that occurs to me is Zoom, from a hardware point of view, is taking two approaches simultaneously. Normally in a Zoom meeting, your hardware is not point to point with the people you're talking to. I see your feed is black. I don't know why, but normally you're not serving a bunch of IP addresses like everyone in this meeting. I'm not serving my IP address and my bandwidth to you. I'm sending it to a server, a Zoom server. But in Zoom Production Studio, all of the mixing, like the video switching, is happening on your local computer. When they start importing things like social media feeds, I don't know, because I haven't seen it yet, but will that be constrained to the Zoom server, or will that take CPU cycles off of your local hardware? I don't know.
I don't know.
In the regards, Frank, you're talking specifically about vMix, right? Is that what you're meaning, or you're talking? You're talking in general.
Forget vMix. In a Zoom meeting right now, my feed is going to the Zoom server and it's being distributed to all of you from Zoom servers. In a Zoom session or event, if you use the production studio, all of that, like all of the mixing, like the 3 ups, the 2 ups, all that stuff is happening on your local CPU hardware. And, you know, how robust does your computer have to be for that? And then if we start to add more elements like social media, like chat feeds from YouTube and stuff coming into Zoom proper, would that add any more CPU cycles, or will that all be distributed on Zoom Server Cloud? I don't know. I'm just curious.
Well, in some ways, I think that what you just described is precisely how this works with Ecamm and or vMix, right? So we're grabbing those feeds from Zoom. In fact, here, let me just show you real quick. So this is the feed from yesterday, and what they're doing doesn't matter, but you'll see in a moment what the interface looks like and how it kind of all works. There we go. So this is what Ecamm, they have a whole bunch of floating windows. vMix people will hate that, but essentially what they did is they added another window for Zoom guests, and the integration that they're doing is you actually don't even need Zoom installed on your computer. They essentially built the client into Ecamm. So you can start a meeting right here from Ecamm, and when you do that, it will open up a very familiar Zoom client looking window. And then what happens is all of the folks who are in that Zoom meeting become available in Ecamm as camera sources. I can then add them into my scene. I can build my scene, and then using the virtual camera, send that right back into into Zoom or anywhere else that I want to, YouTube or what have you. So as far as CPU usage, Ecamm and all of these tools are already pretty heavy in their usage. The benefit, I think, of using Zoom's architecture is that before, if I wanted to bring in guests, I had to use the interview function, which was even more taxing. But now I'm able to offload some of that to Zoom servers, and just I'm still grabbing the video locally, but it's Zoom is doing just much more of the work, I think, than I was having to do before. So they just started a new meeting, and you can see this is the Zoom interface. It looks like, and you have access to everything that you'd have in a regular Zoom client. Let me jump ahead just so you can see. So actually down here at the bottom, so this is your camera switcher down here, and you can see this person who joined the meeting immediately shows up as an option down there. So here they built a scene with, he is coming in from Zoom. And let me just go back so you can see the interface again. And he also will show up as an option in the camera switcher below. So basically that's how it works. And sorry, one last thing, and then Robert, I see you, I'm sorry, is Zoom chat also now feeds right into, they have a, what do you call it? See if I can find it. There it is. So if you look over here, this is their internal comments and reactions. So everything from YouTube and LinkedIn and all that other garbage comes in here. Actually, I don't think LinkedIn does. And now Zoom will come in here also, so that I'll be able to see it. And then the way it works, at least for me, and I'm sure it works and all the others, is that you can add any of these to broadcast just by, clicking on them. So in any case, I'm terribly excited about this. I do think it's going to be quite taxing on our systems. But then again, we're pushing a lot of video around, so I'm not sure we should expect anything less than that. Robert, sorry, you've been waiting.
David, can you just explain one thing to me, please? I'm a little bit confused. What are you actually having in Ecamm apart from yourself? Do you have other guests in Ecamm itself?
So yes, so you can. So I do for, I will just, let me bring up. So I do a show every week, every other week. Can you, what are you seeing here? Yeah, you can see. So you can see I'm here, and this over here is reserved for my guest. So when they call, they can, just like vMix has, I think it's called vMix Call, that people can call into or video into my show, and you can have, I can have different layouts with different numbers of folks. What is being added here is direct integration into Zoom. So I've always been able to send whatever is in Ecamm into Zoom, but now this is basically ZoomISO built into Ecamm. That's what they've done.
Okay, so the scene is, if I understand, you have a meeting in Ecamm where you have a group of people. You have
I have a meeting in Zoom.
No, you just showed me your guests in Ecamm.
Well, yeah, but now I won't have that anymore. Now all of my guests are going to come directly from Zoom.
So they're going to hold their own meeting in Zoom, because assuming you can't be there at the same time as you are in Ecamm, yeah? And you're just going to pull them in one by one?
Right. So no one is in Ecamm. We are all going to be in Zoom. Everyone's in Zoom. My audience is in Zoom, my participants in Zoom, and my panelists are in Zoom. Just like with ZoomISO, I'm able to grab those isolated feeds, video and audio, bring them into Ecamm, build a scene, and then send that right back into the same Zoom meeting or anywhere else I want to.
Okay.
Spotlight it, and that's the show. And it does all of the mix minus and all that other garbage, so that I don't have to worry about the audio either.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah,
The point I was missing was I thought that you were in Ecamm as one of the participants, but I understand now that you're in Zoom and you're using Ecamm to manage everything that you want
Essentially,
to play out.
essentially,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Robert, that would be the same. Again, that would be the same. What David explained is 100% what vMix does right now too.
And the bigger point here, by the way, is not about Ecamm or vMix. It's that ZoomISO, which we all thought was so revolutionary and still is. The goal of ZoomISO, by the way, this is just I'm editorializing here. I have absolutely zero insight. The goal of ZoomISO is not to continue to be its own thing, although I'm sure it will be, and I'm sure that it will continue to develop and grow. The goal of ZoomISO is to be built into everything so that Zoom can be that back end that it does so well. So it's built into vMix, it's built into MimoLive, it's built into Ecamm, it's built into, I don't know, StreamYard, whatever, you know.
Wirecast is the other one too.
Right. And when you get the functionality of ZoomISO in all these other tools, man alive, it just, you know, there are people like myself who using ZoomISO is along with Zoom, along with Ecamm, it's a heavy lift. It's a really heavy lift. So understanding, Robert, what you talked about, which is really important about having a team to, and in fact, when you were saying that, Robert, I was thinking about Q&A. I've been doing a lot of meetings lately using the Q&A feature, and it would be really nice to be able to have a dedicated role, maybe like Frank, like you said, about comments in chat or Q&A, someone who could manage that. But having all of that accessible to me within one of these tools is just, it's life-changing. It really is. So in any case.
So I'm assuming you will show it to us once you get it right.
Oh my God, I cannot. I'm like, as soon as this, so they announced yesterday that it's coming. It's not done yet. In fact, when they did the demo, the audio was a disaster. So it's not ready yet. But I immediately wrote them and I said, I want to be an alpha tester, and they said yes. So as soon as I have access and I'm able to share that, I will. But again, it's not. I'm not here to promote Ecamm. The point is just that lots of these different tools are doing the same. Ecamm's actually sort of last to the table. All the other ones are doing it. Frank, sorry.
Another Ecamm question, Ecamm Test Kitchen. I remember about a year ago you told us there was a discount for Ecamm. Does that come around every year? If it does, can you tell us?
Yes, except we missed it. They had a big discount before the holidays. Yes, when another one comes around, I'll definitely let you know. Definitely.
What about that extra 10 licenses that you bought to dish out, David? Can't you sort of
the 10 Ecamm licenses or Zoom licenses?
Ecamm.
Yeah, I did not buy 10 licenses. It's not as expensive as MimoLive, but it's whatever. Hey, there's some new stuff from Zoom coming, which may make Ecamm and everything else obsolete. This is my first thing that I thought of when I saw this. What? I'm not going to even have to use Ecamm anymore. I will, but so let's take a look at this, folks. This is honestly, it's pretty wild, I think. Let's just start with the big one, and then we can look at the others. Screen share presenter layout. Meeting users wanting a more engaging sharing session can utilize this new presenter layout, which combines your video and shared screen to present everything in one frame. Presenters have a few different layout options, ranging from having the content appear over the shoulder of your video, the presenter appearing in front of the content, or the presenter and the content appearing side by side. These options are available in the sharing window, where users can select what they want to share, the layout of their video and the shared content, and a common virtual background for both you and the content. Admins can also control the use of this through web settings available at the account, group, and user level settings pages. And there was, Frank, I couldn't find it. There was a screenshot that someone posted of what they thought was a leak, but I mean, it's not a leak anymore.
Yeah, that was me. I'll put it in the chat in a second.
Yeah, just so that
or
people
I can share. I can.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, there was someone saw a little.
It's low fidelity. because it's a screen grab of a screen grab. Sorry, dead air.
No. So in any case, so while he's looking.
Oh, I have it. I'm just trying to make it have more fidelity. Okay.
Gotcha.
So here it is. If you know Clips, or if you've seen David show us Clips, it's the same layout that Clips has. I guess they decided to leverage the technology. So when you go into your advanced screen share, I'm sorry it's blurry, but it's a screen grab of a screenshot. So up here in, when you screen share and you go basic advanced, there's a new thing now for layouts on the right-hand side here. At least I'm guessing this is what it'll look like next week, unless they change it before then. So this first box is just your content. So, whatever PowerPoint slide, whatever you're showing. The second box seems to indicate that you will be in front of your content. The third box seems to indicate that your content will be over your shoulder, or yeah, I think so. And the last one is side by side. So you'll be on the left and your content will be on the right. I don't know if there's any options to like switch it to flip flop it or anything. We'll find out in about a week.
Oh, you mean like put you on the left?
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes it's not. Depending how you lay out your PowerPoint slide, maybe you're covering up stuff you don't want to cover up, or you're going to have to take your design choices into consideration if it's fixed this way. But we'll find out, in a week or less than a week. But this is the sneak peek. The way I found this was I was in the Zoom community and somebody was asking about screen sharing. I went, hey, and someone from Zoom posted this, and I was like, that's not a thing right now for us regular people. So I thought, oh, they must be on an internal release that we don't have.
Yeah.
So I went, wow, that's really cool. Plus, I may have known about it ahead of time, but I can't speak about those kind of things.
May or may not have known about it ahead of time. I think this is, well, it's huge and it's a little disappointing. So what's huge about it to me is that my main gripe, I have a few gripes with screen share. My main gripe with screen share is that the speaker disappears into the corner, and yes, there are ways. There's depending on how it's being presented, there's a slider, and you can make the presenter bigger. But nobody knows how to do that, and that has to be on the user side. And to me, the presenter is always more important than the PowerPoint. This really addresses that, I think. Here's the part that I'm really, I don't know, disappointed isn't the right word, I'm concerned about, is the virtual background piece. I'm afraid that when you use this, it's going to default to a virtual background for all of them.
I don't think that's true necessarily. I think it's going to be your content. So if you have
no, but bring up that screenshot again, because
I just closed it.
I'm sorry.
It'll take me a couple of minutes.
I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. For if you're in front, yes, if you're in front of your screen share, then it's not a virtual background, but it is still keying you out. And
yeah.
That's not going to look good.
But
because nobody has the proper.
I'm being pedantic, but it's not a virtual background in the sense that it's the content you wanted to share. So whether it's over your shoulder, right, side by side, you're in front of it, or you don't appear at all, it's your content you were trying to share. It's not something else.
Agreed. Yeah, go ahead. Everyone jump in. Don't just listen to me. Lois, go ahead.
It said, it looked like it was a little square. It didn't look like a cutout of a person. It looked like you had your little square and then you had your content square. So I think you should wait till it comes out and look at it and see what it looks like. When it was saying virtual background, I assumed that to mean if you did the side-by-side option, that doesn't fill the whole screen completely. So you got to have something around behind it. Right.
It could mean that. You could be right. By the way, there's no fun in just waiting till it comes out.
January 22nd is not that far away.
The whole point is for us to sit around here and try and guess what's going to
guess what we're going to be playing with next Friday for the first 20 minutes.
That's right. That's right. No, you could be right, Lois. It may be that. I worry about the virtual. Every time I hear virtual background, I cringe a little bit. So that piece concerns me a little bit. But
and my question would be, if this is the new layout for screen share, does that mean that for the individual, they no longer have the choice of seeing everybody or just the speaker or all those choices that they got on the screen share side? So again, we'll have to wait and see what it looks like. I will be here next week.
You're right. That's a really interesting question, right? How will this impact? So right now when you screen share, right now when I screen share, and I'm using the dual monitor setup with Zoom, everything gets like, everything goes everywhere. It's a disaster. So I can't stand screen sharing. For the participant, you can choose, right, between seeing the spotlit person, if someone is spotlit, or the gallery on the side. And so that's a really interesting question. Will you still have those options, or will you be stuck with just whatever I don't, if I had to guess, which I don't have to, but I'm going to anyway, Lois, Zoom has been so good about keeping this experience democratic, about giving users, letting users choose, which is frustrating to us when we're trying to put on a show and we want it to look a certain way. But there's something really powerful about the user being able to say, I want to see this way, or gallery view, or that, or this. If I had to guess, I would hope that they would keep those options. That's a really interesting.
I think it'll be the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the screen share. It's not the gallery. It's happening in the screen share. So whatever used to happen in the screen share will still happen in the screen share.
So do you think that so let's say someone is spotlit and they're screen sharing. Do you think that their video will be now part of the screen share window and their original video will still be up in the gallery area, as it were?
Probably.
I think it depends if if the viewer is full screen or not, and how they have chosen to see it. I can see just the person who is spotlit, or I can see the gallery, and you have no control over which I choose because I'm a Zoom user. I can also take that little slider and I can make the screen share really tiny so that I can see the presenter really big. And again, I get to choose that because I'm the user.
Right, but my question is, the person speaking is now going to be part of the screen share. What happens to that other video? What used to be the video of them? What happens there? Does that no longer exist? Does it? Is it still there? So if I move that slider, can I slide from the screen share, which includes them, to just them?
Tune in next Friday.
Yeah, right, exactly, right.
Reveal.
What I find interesting about this is Zoom Clips. They have a different product or offering. They created some technology for that offering, and they saw that the technology they created was good, and they took that and pumped it into the main product. So I kind of find that interesting, and I hope to see more of that when they make advances in one area. If it's applicable, they bring it to the other tools that they support.
By the way, I have fallen deeply in love with Zoom Clips. I'm using it all the time now. All the time. So here's I met with a gentleman who, I don't really understand what he does, but he says that this is like the new thing, that systems are all going to be custom built. Instead of, I have a system that I use for attendance and tracking children in school, and I have another system that I use for billing. And he said, those are all going away. We are going to be able to build custom systems. That's his thing, whatever. So he asked me to show him, what does it look like when a child enrolls? What are the processes that we go through? What are the systems that we use? And in order to show him that, I popped up Zoom Clips, narrated over as I enrolled a child, using all the different pieces. I had another person who they were having a difficult time accessing a website. I opened the website, opened up Zoom Clips, and just created a Zoom clip, and I immediately sent it to them. It's just, maybe this is exactly what Loom has always been, and maybe I just never jumped on that bandwagon, but it's to me, it's very, very powerful. Zoom.us, I'm actually pulling up I'm gonna pull up my my clips. Here we go. So this is
But David, just so I understand you, what you're saying is that you're using it like a video message.
in some ways, yeah. Yeah, in some ways. So I came in. Oh, here. You know what? Let's just do one. So let's say you had a question about. I'm going to create clip. Oh, sorry, you have to have Zoom open. So let's say you had a question about how to find the Zoom Test Kitchen. Okay, so I'm going to create a clip, and then this pops up, and I can say, and this is what Frank was referencing. These guys right here. It's not letting me zoom into it. Sorry. You know, do you want the picture over your shoulder? So a camera and then the picture over your shoulder. Let me change the camera here so we can actually see something. Or do you want just the screen share, or do you want just the video? So let's do this guy and and start recording. Okay, so that actually is not actually recording the right thing. Sorry, I forgot to click which one I want. Let me do a new one. Create clip. Pull this over again. And here we go. You can. This is where you choose which desktop you want to share. So I'm going to share this desktop here. You can see I got that when I clicked on it. I got the green around the outside telling me. So that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to just name this Zoom Test Kitchen clip and start recording. So I get the countdown. So now I got my video down here, which I can move around in this clip. And now I can say, oh, you're looking for the Zoom Test Kitchen, you know, what, you just go over here and type in Zoom Test Kitchen. And now this is a recording of everything that I'm doing. And now, and by the way, I'll pull this over. This exists for me, it's on another screen, but presumably if you only have one screen, it would be on your screen. But you got this little guy here where you can stop the video, you can mute, pause, whatever, finish, and then it creates the clip, which should work. So now I got my video down here, which I can move around in this clip. You all could hear that, right? Could you hear that audio from that was just coming through? Okay, good. So yeah, and then as soon as I have this, I'm able to just share it right away. Right? I just go over here and oh, sorry, it's right there. I grab the link and it's copied. So that's been very, very powerful. I've used that quite a bit.
David, remind us who has the ability to use that clips. Is it everybody? Is it only if you're an enterprise? Do you have to buy it special? How's that work?
So my understanding is that this and the scheduler, no, sorry. Everyone has access to clips, but there are two tiers. Was it standard and pro, I think? Let me pull it up. Everyone has access to it. If you have a business account, I believe, you get longer clips and maybe an unlimited number. I'm not exactly sure.
If you have a pro account, you can do 3 clips per month, and they're limited in time. And if you have a business
2 minutes,
something
so
like that.
actually, no, wait. No. If you have a basic account, you get Clips Basic. And Clips Basic is, here it is. Clips Basic, I'm not showing this, sorry. Clips Basic is record, edit, share short form videos, 5 videos, 2 minutes per video. As soon as you're paying, even on the Pro, you get Clips Plus. And Clips Plus is unlimited videos and advanced features.
it's unlimited, but it uses up your cloud storage.
Right.
So if you go crazy, you may not have enough cloud storage, or you're going to have to buy more, right?
The truth is, for me, at least in my case, I don't need any of these. I mean, the truth is I could delete all of these. I made them, I shared them, they watched them, done. I don't really need them anymore. But yes, it does eat up your storage. So everyone can access it. If you're on a basic plan, this is also an add-on. You can buy this, I believe, just as an add-on.
You can.
Clips.
One thing I don't like about Zoom Clips right now, and I'm hoping they're going to fix it, is there's no closed captioning.
Interesting.
There's no machine-generated captions in Zoom Clips, which is a big oversight for people with accessibility issues, and I think they'll get there, but I wish it was there now.
That's a good call. So here's if you do want to just purchase it, just like Hasmuk purchased the scheduler at $60 a year, $70 a year is Zoom Clips Plus. So.
But you'd only need that if you had a free account.
Correct.
And if you had a free account and you were going to get a scheduler and the clips, you might as well have the cheapest pro account, and then they'd come in it.
Right. The pro account, I don't believe includes the scheduler.
Funny how that works. It's almost like they're trying to get you to pay a little more.
Yeah. The schedule, just so the scheduler is not included in the pro account, but Clips is.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
David, are you sure you can buy add-ons to a basic account? I think you have to have a pro to be able to buy add-ons.
Well, it wouldn't make any sense to be able to buy a Zoom Clips Plus add-on if you have the pro, because you already have Zoom Clips Plus. So the only reason you would buy this is if you had a free account, no?
There's a learn more button we could ask.
Yeah, it says here, this is included in all paid Zoom One plans.
Aren't there legacy plans, though, that aren't Zoom One?
Oh, I don't know. Are there?
I think there are, and I think that's probably where you might buy it.
Oh.
The Zoom One thing is relatively new. I'm still on a legacy plan, and I had a meeting with Zoom this week, and they were telling us about the new Zoom One for enterprise and new Zoom One for education. But we're currently
what's different?
They're bundling more things. It's kind of like if you used to have cable TV and you get a bundle. This isn't unusual in many industries, and we're still on a legacy plan, and I don't like to use the word, but grandfathered. I don't know how long we can stay grandfathered, or if they'll say eventually everyone has to migrate off of legacy plans. But so maybe if you're on a legacy plan, you want to buy the add-on. We buy add-ons quite often for people.
But is a legacy plan, is it, do you have fewer, is it cheaper? Is that why you would want to stay with the legacy
It's
plan?
cheaper because things aren't bundled. So you don't get everything. Whereas now it's sort of like, get Zoom One and you'll get all this stuff. Maybe I don't want all the stuff, but will there come a time where you can't not have all the stuff? Sort of like, when they said that TV cable packages, and then, that's so undemocratic, we'll go to streaming. But now, by the time you buy all the streaming packages, you're paying more than your cable package.
Right. Yeah.
Companies spend a lot of time thinking about how to organize packages so you spend the maximum amount, right?
Frank, you're saying it's a legacy account, but people who have the account, my account isn't going to change and suddenly be called legacy.
They don't call it that.
Zoom Pro.
But you have Zoom Pro, but
Mhm.
a new person wouldn't be able to go backwards in time and get some of the plans that used to exist. They'd only be offered Zoom One plans, or whatever Zoom's going to call them in the future.
It's been nice talking to you guys today. This is a great session. I think more people should listen to the Zoom Test Kitchen and yeah.
You're like chair of the marketing department, Lois.
I am what you call an enthusiast. And when I get enthusiastic about something, I will tell everybody about it. I
There you
mean,
go.
hey, did you know that you could go bird watching?
Absolutely.
Lois,
Next week.
don't forget to check out those binoculars, Lois.
Okay, I will. Bye.
Good to see you again, Lois. Bye.
There is more in the notes, actually. the very first thing is improved global product navigation. So this is also quite interesting, I think, that free account users will have greater control of the product tabs shown on the Zoom desktop clients, having greater flexibility over display order, and which product tabs are always visible or hidden within the More option. I'm actually, so it says it's coming first to free and then for paid accounts. By the way, I don't understand that, why free people get it first.
Maybe they're testing it on the free people so that if it's not perfect, you can't really complain that much.
Okay. I'm used to getting things first if you pay, but
I don't know. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, but I do like this because I think very few people know about the More button and that there's actually more in the More button. And so, you know, if I know I'm not using whiteboards or I'm not using apps, if there's a way that I could structure my meetings for my participants or the menu bars at the bottom, that would be.
I have some, you know, misgivings about this, but you know, I don't know. I see the pros and cons. A lot of people want to be able to reorganize their Zoom control buttons, but I also think it means that everyone's going to have something different. And when you try to do support, even in a meeting, and someone's not very good at Zoom, and you say, well, just click on the fourth button, their fourth button may not be your fourth button. So pros and cons to the whole thing,
That's
I guess.
That's a good point. So, but here's a question, because what I would like to do is force my button order. I'd like the button order to not be client specific. I'd like it to be meeting specific. So if I have a meeting that I run every week and I know that I don't need apps and whiteboard or notes, I just want reactions and share screen, I'd like to set up that and then have that be pushed out to the users, the participants.
Get a Stream Deck.
Dictatorial, isn't it?
Say again?
Rather dictatorial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get a Stream Deck. I see the value in what you want. I think that's probably really low on their development priority list.
And would get a lot of negative feedback from people in meetings.
Did David freeze? I don't know what's going on.
No, I'm just shaking my head. I don't believe that you all are being so mean to me. No,
David, I think you're actually going to get it quicker than you think, because it may be part of a template. And if you're using templates, then it should be there because you set these options up in a template. So maybe they'll give the options in a template.
Right. Yeah, that's all I'm thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, this next thing on the list, I just don't understand at all. So someone smarter than me is going to have to help us out with this.
Which one? The disable assigning?
MSI, plist.
I can explain that, or I'm sure many
please.
other people here. So MSI, plist, GPO, MDM are all ways where organizations or companies that have lots and lots of computers, and they push out the way your software is going to work. These are little flags where they set up the deployment of an application, in this case Zoom, and they say that Zoom can have this, but it can't have that. So what they're saying in this particular notice is they've added a new thing that the person who's in charge of deploying Zoom at your organization can turn on or off. But there's lots of flags in the MSI plist. Plist is for Macs, MSI is for Windows, MDM's probably for phones and Android and stuff like that. Group policy is the other one, but basically how you deploy things from a central company out to each workstation or phone or device, and you're deciding, because the person doesn't own the phone, you decide how Zoom's going to work, and through the deployment you set these flags, and then that's how the device works, and the person can't override these things.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. Why couldn't Zoom have just written that? All right.
Well, it's for people who are
of course,
do this for a living, right?
I'm kidding. Of course.
And the admins are very happy that they can do this now, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, this particular one, like I don't like. I guess I can understand why somebody would want it. I don't want it. I don't want to turn off the ability to have other people be assigned as the manual closed captioner, but maybe some organizations don't want that for security or liability reasons. Maybe they're healthcare or financial. I don't know. It just seems like you're taking away an option to have more accessibility, but there's probably a reason I can't, that I'm just not contemplating.
All right. So then we got the shared screen share presenter layout again, which, by the way, I have a feeling that production, what was it called, Frank? Production Studio? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this has got to be this is like that seeping in. In some ways, I think about Q&A, which started over in webinars and then snuck its way into meetings, which
I wonder if Andy had his hand in this.
Yeah. Those pro features sneaking their way in different ways is just fantastic. By the way, if you haven't used the Q&A, I don't know if I said that before, it's fantastic.
Q&A is wonderful, and I was so happy when they brought it to meetings. I asked for it for 2 or 3 years. Imagine you're trying to have a big meeting. Let's say you're a teacher or something else, and let's say there's 300 people in your meeting and everyone's putting their questions in the chat mixed in with people just chatting. It's so hard to understand what the questions are when the chat's flying by. It's so much better when the Q&A is broken out and someone can say, these are the questions, plus you can let the group upvote them or downvote them, so that, I think it's democratic to say we have an hour. Susan asks a really important question and Stephen asks a really stupid question, and everybody upvotes the good question because you only have an hour to discuss it, and everyone says the stupid question gets voted down, and then the person who's leading the meeting can say we're going to focus our time on that question that 62% of the people said they wanted to discuss during our time together.
I had I'm doing a 10-week series on Thursday nights, and so one of the things that I've said, because this audience does not know from Q&A, all they know is the chat. And so I said to them, I said, here's how you find the Q&A, and please, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. I will try my best to keep an eye on the chat, but I'm going to really focus on Q&A. And what I found people doing is, because they wanted my attention or they just wanted to say something, they were now just typing their chat comments in the Q&A, which,
in a way, Q&A is kind of like a live poll where it's, instead of you designing the poll and asking them, the audience is deciding what the poll is going to be, in a sense.
Yep. We got some automated captioning and translated support for Cantonese and Thai. English to Greek support for translated captions. Now, this last thing is interesting. I don't mean to suggest those aren't interesting. They're not in my, I don't know, Robert, if that's something that is meaningful to you that you want to chime in on. The next one, though, attach a poll to a meeting or webinar instance. If the allow host to create meeting polls and quizzes setting is enabled by admins, users can attach polls to a meeting or webinar instance and save a copy of polls attached to a meeting or webinar to their personal library. So
this is very, very, very important and addresses.
Right. We talked about this.
Yeah, this is a huge complaint in the Zoom community, and they fixed it. And I think it's a great thing that they fixed it.
So
as
the
long
complaint
as
was, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The complaint was that before they just had polls and surveys and you attached them to your meetings, and that's all there was. Then they introduced this idea of poll libraries and survey libraries, where you could put all your polls and libraries in surveys and polls in a library. Great idea and concept, like to have them all in a centralized place. What happened, though, was that they got rid of the specific polls that were tied to specific meetings. So then when you went to a meeting and you said, okay, this is the Tuesday meeting, I need the Tuesday poll. Let's say you had 79 polls. Every single poll showed up when you went to launch the poll, and it was really hard to find the Tuesday meeting poll if you didn't name it in a way that was easy, and it wasn't easy to search for. So what they've done now, they kind of combined the two ideas. They've still got the poll library, centralized poll library, survey library, but now you can go back to tying specific surveys and polls to specific meetings, which there was a lot of anger about, because some people had 300-400 polls. They have, like, maybe they were doing training and they were having 3 or 4 meetings a day. Each meeting had 5 or 6 polls, and they did that every day of the week, and they had all of a sudden 180 polls. And when they tried to launch a poll for a specific meeting, it wasn't the poll for that meeting, and they couldn't figure out which poll to launch. Now it's going to go back to the way it was, but you'll still have a centralized library where you can go and do things to them. So you can manage your library of polls, but they'll still be able to attach to specific meetings or webinars. So they fixed it, but it took them a few months.
Yep. That's definitely a big one.
I think as a coach, I think that the Q&A should be totally pre-done by the presenter, that you know all the questions.
Wait. Say that again. It should be.
But I believe that it should be driven by the meeting host, the presenter, not by the audience. So all the Q&A should be, the chat should be generated by the audience. The Q&A should be previously planned and organized by the presenter.
I disagree.
Well,
And the reason why is, imagine you're an instructor standing from a room of 500 people and it's not Zoom, and someone puts their hand up and has a question. The Q&A acts the same way. It allows people to put the questions somewhere that's not in the chat, so they're easier to find. And if you allow people to vote on them, it just makes it easier for the presenter to not get lost in the chat. The questions are in a separate place, just the way you would have in a real life auditorium.
well, in a real life auditorium, they're not going to throw out, they're going to have to be recognized to ask questions.
And that's what happens in the Q&A. The meeting host gets to decide which questions they want to answer.
Right. So I'll just give you the use case, Ray, for last night. So we had about 100 people in this session. I had 2 panelists and myself as the moderator. Now, panelist is not the right word because it was a meeting, not a webinar. 2 speakers and myself. I had the Q&A opened, and as people asked, so I actually did have questions. I had 5 questions that I had come up with ahead of time. I started with those, and then I was keeping an eye on that Q&A, and if something came in that was either related to or interesting or whatever, then I would ask that question. You can decide in the Q&A whether everybody can see all of the questions or only the answered questions, and whether people can, so you can limit its ability to be a distraction during the meeting. It doesn't need, I like to open it up. I like people to be able to vote and comment on questions, but
As you do that, though, if you have somebody that's handling either the chat or the questions, that makes it easier. But if you're just a single presenter and you don't have anybody helping you moderate or curate, it's a distraction for the presenter, in my opinion. I strongly coach people. You should know every question. You should know every answer. Go ahead and build in the questions. And if something comes up in the chat, you can boom, bring it up and you can address it. I don't like I don't mind that it's like the DJ days when somebody would say, call and request a record. And so they would call, we'd have another record going. They would know it, but the audience would know it, but we record that question. And when we found that request, and 20 minutes later, when we found the record, we'd put that on and then play the request as though we did it instantly. That was sidetracked, I'm sure, for my reason. But you can't have a presenter focusing on the message and then also focusing on chat and questions.
That's very hard. Opinion. Yeah, it's very hard. Robert, what's up?
Yeah. I have 2 use cases that address those, because in some instances where I've got someone who is giving a talk, he doesn't want to be interrupted. Yeah, because he needs to finish off a certain trend of thought, and then he'll stop at one point and say, any questions, and then move on. And the thing we've found with the Q&A is that it allows people to just throw those questions in without losing them, without writing them down and putting their hand up. And it also allows to structure the meeting in a slightly more predictable way. Initially, people used to come in and say, oh, I've got an hour, so I'm going to have 55 minutes of a talk and 5 minutes of Q&A. And you'd say, no, you can have half an hour of a talk and half an hour of Q&A, because it's the people who've come here to listen to you and ask the questions and not come here and just listen to what you have to throw on them.
On a
And so-
well-prepared presentation, you should have anticipated those questions and answered them in the presentation. The days of when we used to have via satellite, we'd have 50 downlink locations around the world, and the client would want to have time for everybody to ask two questions in a 40-minute meeting. And the democracy of the thing is a wonderful idea, but it's not practical to meet the goal of the presentation to begin with, because we assume the presentation has a goal, but it should be crafted around what the audience wants to know, and you should be prepared for it.
I don't think you're wrong. I think maybe there's both approaches are correct in one way, because you keep saying audience, but some of the times these meetings are more about give and take and back and forth, and having Q&A is good for engagement, especially when you're trying to teach people. And if you don't have engagement and you don't have opportunities for people to interact, they tune out and they stop engaging, and they're not getting as much out of the content.
I definitely agree. You want to engage the audience as often as possible, but you should program it and control it, in my opinion. And that's why I think you bring up what you believe to be the top question. What do you guys think about this? And then bring it up. But I'm talking about a lecture. I'm talking about a presentation with a defined goal, not a teaching session where this is how you attach this to this, and then this to any questions there.
And that's why I agree with you. I think that the way they've done it makes it more versatile for different applications. So if you don't like it, don't turn it on. If it doesn't meet your goals, don't turn it on. You can also, in a meeting, you can say, let's say this is an hour-long meeting. I'm gonna talk for 6 minutes. Q&A will be off. I'm gonna turn it on for 6 minutes. Then I'm gonna turn it off again for 6 minutes. Or you can let it be on for the whole meeting and say, for 30 minutes, you can add your questions and vote on them. And for the last 30 minutes, I'm gonna take the top 5 questions, and we're gonna really drill into those top 5 voted up questions.
Those are clever alternatives. I agree. David's back.
David's back.
David's back.
Yeah. There is a question, by the way, Mike brought in from YouTube, which we'll come to from Curtis in a second. Let's just maybe finish running through this. There's some interesting team chat stuff here, actually. This first one is really quick schedule. So it uses AI Companion to read your chats and then suggest scheduling to boost productivity. That is both intriguing and terrifying to me, giving a machine control over my calendar. But I love the idea of streamlining scheduling.
We need to see that, David, because if there's a statement there that says, okay, let's agree that we meet next week at 3:00, we've agreed upon it. So there's nothing scary about that. Yeah.
Right. No,
but
absolutely.
I understand if the suggestion is coming from the AI companion, then that's a bit weird.
You will be meeting. Let's see. Some more restrictions. Drafts and sent messages are being smushed together.
Excuse me, smushed?
Smushed.
I didn't.
Yes. Yes, they're being smushed. Manually archive unused chat. You couldn't do this before? You can manually archive unused chat channels, group chats, and continuous meeting chats. That's interesting. Okay. Read receipts. That's good. That's really good, actually.
Not today, but maybe in a future Zoom Test Kitchen, we can talk about chat retention. It's a big, complicated thing.
Chat retention?
Team chat retention, continuous meeting chat now goes into team chat, and team chat has retention policies that are different for free accounts versus pro accounts and then enterprise accounts. So you can have chats that can be retained for up to 10 years, or they can be retained for 1 year. Maybe you have legal reasons for having to keep these chats. There's a whole, it's a big thing, but I don't want to dive into it right now.
I personally have found the architecture for chat in Zoom a little confusing. Team chat, meeting chat, personal chat. Like I'm not even good.
I'm not a fan personally, but I can see the value in it for some people. When they released continuous meeting chat, what that is when you have a meeting and people are typing in the chat, then it goes to the team chat channel, and all the chat from the meeting goes into the team chat channel. That may be wonderful for some people. I personally don't like that. I think if I don't necessarily want what was said in the meeting to go into a channel where people who weren't at the meeting can go read it, I can see why it could be useful. What if you forget to stop the recording, for example, or you still chat after the meeting's over and two people hang around and you're talking about who you're going to fire or something sensitive, and it all goes into the, like, there's a bunch of things, and I'm sure some of it's just user beware, but I don't know. I can see where there's privacy implications, so I don't know. I have mixed opinions about some of this stuff.
Then there's a bunch of mail and calendar stuff that's coming. Align and unify Zoom calendar event scheduler with the Zoom desktop client's event scheduler. Okay. Detect meeting intent from team chat messages to schedule. Oh, this I think. In team chat, users can use the smart scheduling feature. Isn't that the same thing as up here? Where is it? Team chat quick schedule with AI companion. I feel like this is the same thing. When a meeting intent is detected, a prompt will appear to insert a scheduler link. That's
if you have scheduler. What if you don't have scheduler?
A scheduler link.
So if you buy the product scheduler from Zoom, then I guess it offers you an opportunity to put that into your scheduler.
Into team chat, huh? You can preview images and PDFs and images in emails. You can select your color of your calendar. Decline and remove limited meetings.
Some of these just feel like they're just rounding out the product. Like having colors, that's not exactly groundbreaking technology, but if you don't have it, what's wrong with your product? Like, so they're just playing catch up on low-hanging
Adjusting
fruit.
Font size, it's supporting,
Yeah. Again, don't forget, guys. Again, if you are used to these type of functionality in Google or Outlook or such, that they're becoming that, right? So
And then Zoom Clips, which we've spent quite a bit of time on. The presenter's view can now seamlessly integrate with the content presented in their clips through the immersive view feature. Oh, that sounds like virtual background again. But we can seamlessly integrate. That must mean, so right now in clips, you're just a camera, a square camera in the somewhere on there. I guess this means that they're going to key you out or something and put you on top of your content.
I've finally realized what the issue you're having is, David.
What's that?
You prefer to be in a circle and you were put into a rectangle.
No, I'm okay with rectangles. I'm okay with rectangles. I don't want them to, I spent a lot of time on, I got that sign and my guitars. I don't want them virtual backgrounding the stuff that's behind me. And tag and comments, then some contact center stuff. And some
Nobody puts David in a box.
Nobody.
There we go.
Teacher's pet.
Look at this though. So this is, I wonder if this is what I think it is. Under the resolved an issue regarding video ratio not changing when deselecting HD video.
That's been an issue for about 2 or 3 weeks now in the community forum.
Is that when you'll see people's video kind of pop in and out of?
It might be, but the one I'm familiar with that I saw a lot of complaints about was they have let's say a certain kind of webcam, and the rate, like, you know, in your settings for your camera, you can say HD aspect ratio or regular aspect ratio, and it wasn't respecting
Right.
So people were revealing more of their background, and maybe they have a messy room, or they have something they don't want people to see. There's been a few other issues related to that too, so I'm not sure if it's just that one or some other thing.
Yeah, I've seen that a number of times actually in meetings. So, all right, should we? Hey, Mike, you want to?
Yes, sir.
You want to share some of the we got a couple from YouTube.
Absolutely. So the first one is from Curtis. He is asking us, he says, more of a companion question. So not necessarily Zoom related, but sort of, which is related to if any chance someone could explain what is involved in adding a custom developer module to companion for testing. Not sure where to start. My suggestion would be, considering that I have been contemplating for our company actually, and some products coming soon, to actually make a companion module as well, is to get yourself involved in the Discord for companion for BitFocus. Also get yourself involved in the Slack channel as well. All the developers and such, especially the owners of BitFocus, are the main, I should say, the main programmers for BitFocus that actually develop the companion product. They are in there all the time, and you can ask any question, and there's a newbie section as well. And basically what you want to do is have your module structured in a way that they will respect it within companion. And there is certain code and such that you will need to make sure is there before you get approved to be put into the main companion software as a module that is activated. And again, depending on your skill level of programming will depend on your skill level of being able to do adding your own custom module for the product that you want to be able to control.
And I was going to just suggest that to hop into our Discord and connect with Justin James. He did the companion module for ZoomOSC and ZoomISO, and he knows this stuff inside and out. He's a fantastic resource and a great guy. So
yeah, and of course he's also part of the Slack channel as well, so you could also ask him questions in there live.
Awesome.
Okay, and yeah, so Mr. Booth would like to know, is Wirecast doing the similar thing with Zoom? And the official answer is yes. They have done it already, from my understanding, or are about to do it. I don't know when it's going to be released, but there is some small portion, I believe, in Wirecast already. vMix is much further along. Ecamm, I would say, would be next in functionality from what we've been hearing from David. Wirecast, I believe, does the minimum amounts of stuff. And again, Andy can correct me if I'm wrong, if Andy's still watching, because he would probably know, because he's probably working with them. But again, I know that everybody, all three major software, vMix, Wirecast, and Ecamm, all have the same level of access to all the functionality that Zoom has capable of sending back to the software, but it's a matter of what they're ready to implement. And everybody went quiet after I said that. Go to bed. I don't know.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was talking. I'm trying to find. I did a quick search for Wirecast Zoom integration, and what came up was a link about how to screen scrape a Zoom meeting, which is clearly we are well beyond that.
Well beyond that, yeah. And officially, yeah, Wirecast, unfortunately, out of all of them, has been the least in spreading the knowledge of how to use it within their software.
But Wirecast wasn't Wirecast like first? Wasn't it last year at Zoomtopia, I think? Yeah.
Correct.
Can now join me to bring guests directly into a live show. This is from. Yeah, this is from. It was at NAB, April 2023, is where they announced Wirecast, Epiphan Connect, Wirecast. That's where SPX graphics came out. Right, all these new things, and Mimo Live. Sorry, also came out then, and EasyCast, and Cinemaker.
Yeah, and again, everybody has their own different functionality of how much they've actually included within the software that the software can actually do. And
Huh.
yeah, let your nerd be heard. He's just mentioned that I wish somebody would integrate Zoom into OBS. That would be very interesting. It would definitely.
That's not there yet.
No. So it would. My thought is that it would have to be an OBS module of sorts. So you would have to. It would be a third-party add-on, just like you want to add on NDI into OBS, which is not standard. So that would be how I would envision that this would have to happen. In regards to the way vMix is adding Zoom, it is basically a customized vMix Zoom client that actually gets integrated within vMix. So David, you can probably expect when you get Ecamm that it's going to be similar. It's going to be, again, ZoomISO-ish, where the regards of ZoomISO, you're logging in, correct? So it's similar how the software is going to integrate with that Zoom client that's specialized to get ZoomISO-ish, without going too technical, information from Zoom back into the software. But that's basically, would it be nice to see it in OBS? It would. So right now, and again, I can speak for vMix, they are not increasing their pricing currently for vMix because of the Zoom integration. So that's a good thing, because what I've heard is that Zoom is not charging them to do this. So you take that as it is, currently.
Okay, so that's actually interesting. I was wondering if Ecamm was gonna. They also have not said that they're increasing their rates. Although, don't tell anyone. I would pay for it. But I mean, Zoom. Don't you pay per like API call or something? Isn't that how you usually monetize this type of thing?
Usually on the API side, yes, where there'd be equivalent to like even in YouTube, where YouTube, after so many calls to getting YouTube information, they sort of want to charge you as well. But so Justin actually is the one that made the comment about OBS in chat on YouTube. But so getting back to what you were saying about the APIs and charging, yes, companies do charge for how many X amount of API calls that will happen. But again, it depends on the negotiation that happens between Zoom and the software company, would be my thought.
I was under the impression that they're using the SDK and not doing it through an API.
They may be. I'm an idiot on this stuff, so I forgive the letters if I mix them up. Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Robert's right. Yeah, Robert's right. SDK. So they needed the SDK from Zoom to call the Zoom API information. So it's both. So vMix as a company, as a software, so even Ecamm had to get the software development kit to know how to call the Zoom API into their software. So they basically, the software development kit gives them the structure of how to call the Zoom API information from the cloud into the software. And then without that SDK information, you don't know the proper structure, being able to pull in the proper information. I tried to be very layman with that, David.
You did great. You did great.
Okay.
Sorry.
I could have got very much worse. Trust me.
David, could you press that button again, please?
Yeah, where's the air? Yeah, you need an airplane taking off symbol. Yeah. But yeah.
Here's something else that's by the way, something else interesting, which I didn't know, is that, which makes perfect sense, is that once you have an integration, once you build out your integration into the, you have to get approval from Zoom to deploy it.
Yeah, and of course, good old Andy is, of course, correcting me once again. Here we go. Yeah, so he's laughing at us. First off, that no surprise there. He's telling me, Mike, not really how that works. Thanks, Andy. Again, Andy does know the backend. We have open APIs that can invoke over HTTP, and our SDK builds our client into apps. I was close.
So right. So at least and again, I don't know vMix, so at least on the Ecamm side, they're using the SDK to build the client into an app, and then what's the API? And then what are they doing? What is the API?
Then the actual then once they have that SDK built into their app, so that app, shall we call it, for lack of terminology, the Zoom app within Ecamm or Zoom app within vMix, it makes HTTP calls to the actual Zoom API to say, I want this, please give it back to me. And Andy's also saying what's cool about Zoom is we have something called unified. I'm trying to see what that word is. Unified something SDKs and APIs work together. So I'm trying to see what that unified build. It's called unified build is what it's called. And SDKs work and APIs work together. So yeah, wow. Again, without the SDK, so Robert's right, SDK is needed for the software company so that they can build the client that knows how to talk properly to the actual HTTP API on their servers to get, I want this person's in, and do I want audio, not want audio, do I want stereo audio, not stereo audio, et cetera, et cetera. So all those become variables, and basically within the SDK, I would assume it has all the different variables for the software developers so that they know within their software to give you the functionality of, do I want shared screen, not shared screen? Do I want the person talking only? Do I want this specific person, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, and Andy's giving me more. What else are you giving me, Andy? You can call the API without, you can call the API without the SDK or use the SDK without calling the API, whatever the dev needs. Interesting. All right. So they're independent without each other, but interesting. Thanks, Andy.
This week in SDKs, last year I was putting together a training for synagogues about how we houses of worship need to move from being we need to be more like app stores. That is to say, we need to be a platform in which people can create experiences for themselves. Traditionally, what Jewish communities do is we program, we create programs, and my argument is we can't do that anymore. We need to create platforms in which upon which people can create their own experiences and programs. And I put together what I called an SDK, a synagogue development kit. So that was the extent of my knowledge about SDKs right there. That I used those 3 letters to do something cute.
Yeah, officially nobody sees my hands clapping, but officially I'm giving hands clapping to Dave.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely.
All
I do
right,
not
folks.
have such Rodecaster Pro to give you like or anything funky like that. So
I can't stand that. I cannot stand. Wait, I have applause. There we go.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now shut up.
Okay.
That's enough. All right, friends. I think we have. Have we missed anything, Frank? Have we missed anything?
Oh, there's always more, but there's next week.
There's always more. Boy, we're gonna get to play next week. That's gonna be fun.
I think if you've used Zoom clips, I think you're gonna just be like, yeah.
Maybe. We'll have to see. All right. I doubt I'll have the alpha of Ecamm to play with next week, but as soon as I do, I'll share it and see what Zoom looks like.
Oh, Andy, breaking news. He says, missed Dante integration into Zoom Rooms.
Yes,
that's right. I was going to mention that.
Oh,
yes.
that
he
is
mentioned
sweet.
that. And again, I didn't understand it. And so I just ignored it. Wait, Frank,
okay.
what's the deal with Dante and Zoom Rooms?
You know what a Zoom Room is, right? So Zoom Rooms are another product from Zoom, more aligned with maybe a professional setting, like a video conferencing location. So you've got, monitors and other equipment, like let's say data projectors, whatever, right? So a room that uses commercial grade AV equipment. One of the things that Zoom Rooms does is it allows your AV professional equipment to talk to Zoom, and so you can turn the screen or the projector on. You can have the screen come down, that sort of thing. Zoom Rooms also allow you more outputs from Zoom to multiple monitors. So you can have a confidence monitor. You can have let's say the shared screen monitor. You can have your participants. I'm getting there. And then from an audio perspective, you know what Dante is, right? So Dante is audio over IP. So now you'll be able to get your audio sources in and out of a Zoom room over a Dante system instead of analog or whatever. Go for it, Mike.
Yes, I did raise my hand for everybody on YouTube. And of course, there is now a new also component for video as well. So Dante is now actually incorporated video as well. So if the potential, depending on the actual Zoom room equipment, if it actually has capability of audio and video being sent to Dante, then it can be routed anywhere.
I think you're making I think they would trumpet that if they could do video over Dante. I don't think they have that yet. I think this is specifically about Dante audio right now. Like this is the first step, and I haven't heard anything about Dante video in Zoom Rooms yet. I'm not saying it won't appear.
I didn't even know Dante video was a thing.
Yes.
I thought Dante was solely an audio thing.
For many years, and they are now the biggest competition to NDI because again of the Dante audio infrastructure out there is in place, and it uses the same infrastructure as the Dante audio, but it's just now a video component that's being done.
Yeah, so it says on the release notes, it says Zoom Rooms now directly support both Dante input and output channels. Output channel routing requires the use of Audinate's Dante controller software. Sounds like it's just audio for now.
Yeah, do you know Audinate is basically they have like cables that go from Ethernet and then come out as XLR. So you can route all your signals over IP and then turn them back into more traditional audio outputs and inputs.
Yep.
Yeah, correct. And again, if at this particular point, depending on that was based on the release notes, that actually could be audio or video or both. So because as long as that capabilities is there, as far as Zoom is concerned, then it's a matter of what capabilities the Zoom Room software will be able to recognize. As long as it is coming across as a Dante video input and a Dante audio input, it could be put into a Zoom Room software or any Zoom Room client, and same thing on the opposite end as well over the network, because again, this is all over the Dante stuff is all over IP.
Cool. Good stuff.
And also too, with minimal to negligible latency for both video and audio.
Thank you, Andy, for reminding us. And I'm sorry that I forgot. You did point that out in the Discord. I appreciate you. All right, folks. I think we have overstayed our welcome in the kitchen. We've reached our limit. Have we reached our limit? I think we may have for this week.
What time is it where you are, Robert?
It's coming up to 11 p.m.
So you stay up late for this, eh?
Yep, it's worth it.
We're glad you do, because you always have lots of interesting things to tell us.
What a gift you are, Robert. What a gift.
Yeah. Well, I can share what I've been doing this week, if that's of any interest.
Of course.
But of course.
As Mike always said, streaming cameras are extremely difficult to prepare. So I've just acquired the next streaming camera, which we use Panasonic's because we can stream and record in 4K in the camera itself without them melting down into a piece of mud. And then we've been testing this over a 100-meter long HDMI fiber optic cable plugged into an Elgato cam link. And then we put that into Zoom, and we've taken it out from ZoomISO duplicated it multiple times into something. We have a special recorder that runs on the ZoomISO machine, and we've been recording over the 10 gig network into our NAS to make sure that the whole workflow is good. So we streamed 12 feeds, ISO feeds, recorded, and basically, I don't know if I can show it to you. Let me give it a try. It looked something. No, it doesn't want to show. Okay, so I can't show it to you. It looked something like. No, it doesn't look like that. So that worked, and we ran it overnight for something like 16 hours. So that was good. And
What was the goal of this? Were you just pushing to the limits? Is that what you were trying to do?
No. We had a new camera. We wanted to warm it up and make sure that it's working, format the STDs and run them before we go for a production event. A new 100-meter HDMI fiber optic cable that we wanted to just blow through and make sure it's okay. In the ZoomISO machine, we had put a new SDD backup disk because when we record to one main disk, and then we have a backup in case anything goes wrong. And we'd also, and Mike will be very disappointed, but we've changed.
I'm listening.
We've changed the NAS from a Linux machine to a Windows Server NAS because we had issues, and it gave us such a hard time to get someone to support us. And we could get someone for Microsoft products, but we couldn't get anyone available for the Linux products. So that was a big effort. And the second thing that we've been doing, we've got some Shure automatic conferencing mixers where you can connect up to about 50 microphones for a conference. And we're taking the feeds out of those mixers to identify which microphone is active. And yesterday I participated in a meeting with the author of Isadora, who talked about the ways of taking those feeds and then using them as parameters in Isadora to control a PTZ camera or a set of up to 4 PTZ cameras to choose the participant that is speaking. And there's a lot of work going on there, and it was really fascinating. It was very fascinating.
I don't know a whole lot about Isadora, but is it using noise gates to figure out where to go, or does it have AI?
No, this is something different because out of the mixers, we're actually getting numbers. Mixer 1, port 5, mixer 2,
Okay.
port 9. So it has a definite identifier. But they're also using these microphones that are ceiling based and define XY coordinates.
Sure,
on the
MXs
side.
or something, or
I can't remember, Frank.
yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The ones with the multiple lobes that you can aim, yeah.
correct. And then they identify the XY direction of the sounds coming from, and they use that to point the PTZ in the correct direction. So the idea there is to be able to put 3 or 4 PTZs back to back and then define their scope of travel. And it's really clever because they can move and then they can zoom in as well. So the meeting becomes very, very personal in that way.
I shared a link a couple of weeks ago in this meeting about a company that does PTZ tracking using AI, and they look at the shoulders and multiple points on the body so that they keep the framing consistent. But anyways,
they showed that actually because the product itself, it's a system written in Python, identifies eyes,
right,
ears, mouth very easily, shoulders, and then the only problem that they're having at the moment is that they can identify those parameters, but they can't give them depth.
right.
So if the person moves back, all of the dots sort of fall into one another.
I know they also can track gait and other things. So gait is sort of a digital fingerprint. No two people have the same gait. AI often looks at that, and that way if two people cross in front of each other on a stage, it goes, it's not the right person, and it knows to keep going with the person who's got the different gait, the walking sort of profile.
Interesting. But Yeah, Andy talked about Isidora about 2 years ago here on the Zoom Test Kitchen. I had no idea what that it does. And his message at the time was, once you're using OSC and you feel that you need to do something that has to be automated without you having to press buttons, you need to move on to Isidora, which is a very visual and very graphical description. Yeah.
And you think about, Isadora being a what modal, is that what they call it? Where you just kind of move things around and build them. It sounds it sounds like something exciting to get into, but then when you look at some of the Isadora builds, the complexity of some of these builds, it's amazing. It's really amazing what they're able to do.
Yeah, but Isidora, if I'm not wrong, comes from the theater world. So they
Yes.
used it initially to track individuals on the stage, lights, and everything else that goes on in a theater. But I am not going to try and even program Isidora. I just want to know what we can do and then ask someone for help, because I think the learning curve is just too long to try and do everything oneself. Yeah.
As complicated of a setup that you're going to have, Robert, then yes, I would agree with you on that, because again, you've got to be careful too that if two people are sitting beside each other, you don't want the same PTZ to be on both people. You want to be able to cross between two. So you want to be able to not only have, one PTZ that also will go to those two same people, but you want to be able to cross them too, right? So you want this one to be able to go back to that one and this one to go to this one, just in case that both of them side by side are speaking. If it's like a conference table, which is what I'm sort of picturing, is sort of a long boardroom table where you have like 10, 15 people sitting behind that boardroom table. You could potentially have easily, 3 to 4 PTZs. But again, you've got to be careful too that if this one camera only can grab that one person, that's a bad thing. You've got to have at least 2, if not 3 potential cameras available, that if this camera is already being used and is live, that the next shot goes to that second person, even though it's closer to the first camera, cut it to the second camera instead of the first camera, then go back to the first camera. Then you can, but again, a lot of all this logic, if it's all being automated, has to be all in Isadora.
Yeah, and we talked about it as well, because what you can do is just set up the presets on the PTZs, and then Isadora will scan those presets and remember them, and then you need to put in the logic that you referred to. So
right. Yeah. But what I would do too is make sure that you have at least 2, if not 3 cameras that have all not the same presets, because the same presets would be a bad thing. That means the same cameras in the same spot on top of each other. But again, as far as camera 1, it having preset 1 to 50, and then camera 2 having preset 1 to 50. So that now at least you have the 2 different choices between each other, and then you'll be able to then have bigger choices when you're switching between them in vMix or whatever your visual or video switcher is at that point.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The other thing we talked about is the Shure auto mixers will allow you to limit the number of mics that are active at any one moment. So just for the way you can define to keep the last mic active on, so that it doesn't sort of cut off and you don't know what's going on, and then the next person who comes on, his mic will be open, and then he'll switch the next one off, and it'll just. So there's a lot of those things that need to be done, but I think we're going to have to test it really well before.
Use it. Test and test again, and maybe 4 or 5 more. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, if you want the production to look pro looking, what you don't want to do is have that PTZ go from that person to the next person and watch us actually physically watch the whole move happen, right? That would just so diminish the, I've seen, in recent weeks, I've seen a lot of churches that you can tell that they have 1, maybe 2 PTZs, and all of a sudden somebody hit on the remote, and you're watching it as they move, and then it zooms in, and it'll never be a bad thing, especially if you have two PTZs in this situation pointing at the same person at the same time, because it gives you a bit of choice too, especially if they're long-winded, right? So that you could actually be able to switch off of them every so often too. And it also frees up that next camera too, so that it's ready for the next person that's going to talk.
Yeah. Yep,
But
definitely.
again, all this specific logic, if this is all going to be automated, the computer, aka Isadora, has got to know exactly every single step it's doing all along the whole way.
And the other thing we're thinking about is we need to understand the meeting itself, who's sitting next to who, and who are going to be the main participants. Where's the main interaction going to take place? Because, like you said, we could get into a sticky situation where we're trying to show two people sitting next to each other, and we've got one camera out here somewhere and the other camera over here. And what do you do? Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
testing. This is very
Yeah,
the
and
whole-
again, I would also suggest too, and Frank will know this too, even from doing a lot of productions, is that always have that follow away camera. So
yeah.
we call it the holy crap camera, and I'll keep it PG. But it is what it is, right? So it's basically a wide shot of the room at that particular point, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you're going to designate one of the PTZs as that, sure, or that might be your fifth input, right? Instead of having the 4 PTZs on the all 50.
Yeah.
I just say safety shot, but okay.
I say wide angle shot, but yeah. The
Yeah.
goal of this exercise actually is to set up a system that can be easily transported to a location, set up quickly, and then you have a technician there that just manages that on site. Then you can have 2 or 3 of these remote locations running. And this seems to be the way more and more professional meetings are being held. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I know Frank and I can relate this to, and Frank will make the comment that, he's probably done a few of these as well. I know I've participated in some of them, but I haven't actually video switched them. But it's been basically a lot of this will turn into like parliament type meetings where you will have, you've got all the different people from the local regions within the larger city or the area that are all having their monthly meeting or quarterly meeting. And all of a sudden you'll have the situation where that person, person A is here and person B is sitting right next to each other, because person A was talking because they're talking about, certain things that are going on. Then all of a sudden the actual person that has to answer the question is person B that's right beside them. But yet, that camera would be best on both of them because it's perfectly in front of each other. But again, now you've got the whole dilemma of, that's where you sort of got to stack your cameras right in the regards of, and what I mean by that is, it's not abnormal sometimes to actually have 2 cameras beside each other. So you actually have like two sort of on a, so you'd have one stand, but you would actually have it broken out into 2 mounts for 2 PTZs, right? And that's your tree. So that would become your camera tree then. Now you could potentially have 2 of these camera trees, 3 of these camera trees, or even 4 of these camera trees. Yes, I know inputs are going up, cameras are going up. But again, now you've at least got that close enough shot to get that. But again, if you can live with it being a longer shot, but again, make sure you have a good enough zoom, right? 12x might not do it. I would go no smaller than a 20x, even get away with even doing a 30x, just because you might run into the scenario of where that camera has to go that far of a distance, especially if you're covering 50 people sitting behind tables that are all in front of, I'm picturing those microphones that have the on-off buttons, and that's the true part. They call it here in Canada, we would call that more the parliament channel, where a lot of the politicians will do their debates and such like that. And they're all sitting behind tables. You got to have all your presets set up ahead of time. Preferably what you would want to do too is, heaven forbid, is to preset all your presets before you go live. But of course, have them actually sit there, a good 15, 20 minutes But again, you're going to each camera and setting everything up properly. And I would definitely suggest a PTZ controller at that particular point. It'll just speed up things for you.
Mhm.
So
those
that
are the
you,
sort of things that we've been working on. But we're looking for the option, not for a permanent solution, because the politician sort of thing is a permanent solution.
right.
What we're looking for something that is portable, that you can jump on a plane, take it, and go off and set it up.
Yeah.
remotely.
What I would suggest is a lot of banquet halls, and I know a lot of AV companies will do this in banquet halls, is basically set up the room in a U.
Mhm.
Okay, so you'll have your main person at a podium in the open part of the U, dead center. Then you have everybody sitting this way and in the back, right? Allows you to put the cameras in the middle, and allows you to also, if you're putting confidence monitors, allows you to put the confidence monitors in the middle of the U. So they're sort of hidden to a point away from the cameras. What else? And of course, it allows you to light a lot better too, because you can also then beam down more onto the tables and such from a bit of a distance with, in our world, my automatic light would be ellipsoidals. Those are with the barn doors built in, so that you just beam right on to the table portion, either from above or in front. And those could be off on trees that are portable. But yeah, this setup could definitely, what would be more of your nightmare is the audio configuration, is making sure that, the way that you've got everything set up in Isadora, that always will match your audio setup as you move from location to location to location. So that port mic 1 is always going to be in port 1 of the audio mixer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That you always want 1 to be here and 50 to be there, so that audio wise that's set up. The PTZ is always going to change. That's going to be the unfortunate part, because you're going to be at different venues all the time. So that is going to be the longest setup. What you want the most minor setup to be is the audio portion, to know that, yeah, truly mic 1 is coming into Snake port number 1, that's going into audio mixer port number 1, so that Isadora actually understands properly, yeah, 1 is 1 is 1. 1, don't make 1 2 all of a sudden. Forget about it, because everything's not going to work properly. Then all of a sudden you're going to be pointing at the wrong person, and all of a sudden the person beside them talking. So yeah, that would be my only concern, that I would suggest make sure that you get going from location to location. Because obviously the Parliament situation is more of in-house, so it'd be an in-house system that would be there all the time. And very popular here in our community television channels, they will do this sort of setup as well. And what they do at every location that there is a PTZ is they always double it up.
Mhm.
1 right beside each other. And just because you could always go wide with it right beside each other and actually have them both, especially if they're both talking or want to, converse both at the same time for whatever reason, you could always have that second camera go wide on both of them as another shot, where you can actually then have that other one then go tight. Or if you have enough time to bring in your second tree of 2 more PTZs, right? Again, it all structured, how it is structured out is it'll get to the point of where you probably want to have it at all the corners. You want like your PTZs to be at all the corners of the U shape, so that you get both proper angles, right? So that's where I'm sort of envisioning, is that at each corner of, not necessarily right beside the table, but more of based on the room, is sort of, that is where, again, you have one PTZ that'll go this way and one that'll go that way. And you'll be able to then pan this way along the thing, and then you can pan the back. So it allows you to pan this way, pan the back. Then again, if you have a third and fourth, so similar to, I'll take it down this road where they do a lot of time boxing, where you actually see on each pole of the actual boxing ring, that's where they actually have the camera guys either set up, or they actually have them mounted now to the top of the actual boxing ring pole. Wow. They actually will, yeah, sometimes, depending on the event. or depending on the production company, they'll actually do that there. But again, why? Because of the fact that, they can have at least any angle at that particular point, and then they have a roving camera. That's boxing though, or like a ring type setup. But again, in this case, you're sort of a ring per se. You're in a half U, right? So it is in a physically a square, if not a bit of a rectangle shape, depending on how many people you have to set up. Because if you're doing 50, I would divide it by 3, basically, was what you're doing. So you're going to have, at that particular point, 20, give or take 15 on each side, pretty much. 15 this way, 15 this way, 15 in the back. Now it'll get you 45 at that particular point. Then you could always have 5 people at sort of a head table if you wanted to close in the U as well. And there's your 50.
I need to go back to that because we're building the system up for 50, but I need to look at the sort of the nominal amount of people that we have, because that's what we should be talking, the nominal amount. And then we can,
because that would be a really big U to have 15 people going one way, that way, and that way. That's a big room.
A lot of sideways shots. So there'll be
right. And again, what you might want to do too then is, if it's going to be that really long, is then you would probably want to be able to put it in the middle of each long portion. So halfway down this way, so that you're getting a shot basically up and over people's heads and sort of down a little bit, or you're putting all the cameras in the U, right? And that's how a lot of the parliamentary stuff is done, is that the cameras are actually in the U.
Good. So what have you been working on? Interesting, Mike.
What have I been working on? Well, as I mentioned in the very, very beginning, if everybody joined us in the very beginning, especially on YouTube, that NAM show is next week. So that is huge. A lot of people are coming in from, I know that there are definitely distributors and dealers flying in that probably you deal with, Robert, that are actually flying in to Anaheim, California, USA, to actually participate and see what the latest and greatest toys are. I know that there is a lot of buzz on about the NAM show because it is now back into its normal time slot. It usually is in January. Because of the pandemic, they had stopped for a couple of years, and then they wanted to slowly bring it back. And as things began to be able to open up in the US, they were able to bring it back. The last one was in April of 2023. So this one they now got it back to being in January. And the reason—
Are you going to have a stand there?
Are we going to have a stand there? No, but I will be participating. For anybody watching, I will be Crosstracks Distribution. Our company will be on the NAM Show Plus platform. So if anybody is interested in meeting with me specifically, or anybody from our team, absolutely will be on there. But yeah, no, this year we're not going to be traveling. There's a few different factors in that. The amount of cases of COVID is actually in the rise in the US. It's not spoken about too much, but that is there. Currently, we don't have any specific brands that are specifically in the show, but that usually will dictate if we do actually participate in the show, because usually we will, for our dealers and our brands, actually participate in the long days of being in the booth and answering any Canadian specific related dealer questions that may come up from our Canadian dealers, so that the brand can speak about the brand products, but we speak about specifically how it works for the Canadian dealers, specifically in Canada.
Okay, cool.
But that's so I will be busy next week. Will I be available next week? I will do my best, because Friday will be a very busy day at NAM. So I will do my very best to see if I can be able to join everybody here again next week in the Zoom Test Kitchen. Yes, I will do what I can to make sure that I can participate, at least come in for a little bit, at least say hi, and I'm having fun, and then bye, and then I got to go again, because the next meeting or the next seminar and such, they're actually, I can do this quickly. They are not using the Zoom Events platform. A, B, they're using a competing platform. It does have a live streaming component. It does have a meeting component all built into the platform, and I've offered my suggestions to the NAM team for improvements. I'm looking to see if they actually have implemented them this year, because there were certain issues that they were having within the last couple of years that if the actual webinar session would actually go long, that the system would cut us off. Because again, it was all time-based on the platform, not, allowing for potential overage or starting late. So that was definitely I brought that to their attention. I said, well, how many times are you going to cut us off from watching all these different seminars that are starting late? And again, it is the music industry. Do artists start on time? No, never. So some of the sessions are artist-based, some of the sessions are industry-based. But definitely if you do have the potential of being on the actual, able to actually join NAM, by all means, it is very educational. It is very eye-opening, and usually we'll see this year, because this is more usual officially as far as they're using their terminology is concerned, more back to normal is what their CEO has been using lately. So we'll see if it is truly back to normal. So I'm being optimistic that it's good, but also there's still that part of me that knows better that virtual events are the way of the future, and especially with all you viewers out there, you already know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. So especially if you're making your lifestyle very similar to like Robert doing these type of events all the time. So that being said, yes, NAM is going to be cool. And they do have a lot of artists that do perform. There's many stages, physical stages. So they have artists performing all the time, all day long. That in itself is entertaining if you just wanted to go for that portion of it. Yeah, there's a lot of surprise usual artists that usually show up to NAM. It's been known that Stevie Wonder will come by, especially if a lot of the artists are based in California. A lot of them will just pop into the show and all of a sudden unannounced, and we'll start walking the halls. So it's a really cool event, especially if you're a musician or into music type products. And of course, in our world, of course, we use a lot of Pro AV, so they're definitely there. As far as video is concerned, not as much, because again, that's more NEB. But Pro Audio, absolutely. Of course, all the concert systems, all the portable systems, all their vendors will be there. They've actually ended up introducing at the NAM, the actual, as they call it, the stadium, which is basically all the audio companies, pro audio companies, set up in this specific venue within the actual Anaheim show that is actually its own separate building, from my understanding. And it's basically set up as if it was a stadium, the actual stadium seating and such in there. So all the audio companies will have all of their normal concert related gear that you would see at an Adele show, or if you're a Swiftie, you'll see at their show, her show, et cetera, all those type of different audio setups, as well as for, in Robert's situation, you probably use a lot of portable, maybe minimal line arrays, say that quickly enough, or even, top with, a couple of subs or such for live audio, depending on your event that you're doing. All those are at NAM as well. And again, there's going to be DJ equipment if you're into DJ equipment and such. And of course, Mackie was, of course, in the show. And then now, of course, now that Rode now owns Mackie, Rode will be joining Mackie in their booth. So Mackie, if you did see this week, they did bring out a brand new DXL XS. Robert, did I do that right? I think that's the model. It's a smaller one. It's a baby version of the Mackie original one that is to compete against, heaven forbid, Rodecaster Pro, which we don't know who's going to be stay in business. Are the Mackie guys going to be told to stop that, or is Rode going to be told to stop that? Coming soon.
Yeah, I think we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see in that regards, because again, Rode is a microphone company, Mackie is a mixer company. So Mackie made mics to compete against Rode. Rode made mixers to compete against Mackie. There you go. So now they both own each other. Now they're both part of the family, the famiglia, as they say it in Italian. So way cool.
Yeah, but they're in slightly different market segments. So I think there's some overlap, but I think they're going out wide. They're going to really be having something for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to rush. So thanks
Alrighty,
very much,
Robert.
Mike.
No problem.
I won't be joining you there online, but I will be participating in office hours because they're sending a group out to have a look around and see what's going on there. We'll have a chat next week.
Okay. Take care, everybody. All right. So I'll just say Happy New Year again to everybody and on YouTube, and we'll see you next week. I'll hope to be here. I'll do my best. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.